Snow was drifting down in slow, lazy circles, the kind that stick to your eyelashes and melt right against your cheeks. I trudged up my son's front steps with a box of homemade cookies tucked under one arm and a small wrapped Christmas gift in my other hand. My coat was damp, my fingers were freezing, but my heart, still warm, still hopeful, still foolish enough to believe I belonged inside that house. Warm light glowed through the living room windows. I heard laughter, familiar voices, silverware tapping plates, someone telling a joke. For a brief moment, I actually smiled. Maybe this year will be different. I told myself like I hadn't said the same thing for years. I knocked once. No one answered. I tried the door. It wasn't locked. Maybe they didn't hear. So I stepped inside quietly, brushing snow off my sleeves, ready to shout Merry Christmas. Except the words never made it out because everyone stopped talking. The laughter died like someone hit a switch. My daughter-in-law Clara looked up from the table first. The second her eyes landed on me, her smile dropped so fast it could have cracked the floor. "Oh," she said flatly, glancing at Daniel. "You didn't tell her." Daniel stiffened in his chair. My son, my baby, didn't even stand, didn't even look surprised, just guilty. I swallowed and lifted the cookie box a little. I brought dessert and gifts for the kids. No one moved. Clara leaned back, crossing her arms. Helen tonight is supposed to be just family. That word hit like a punch. I held my ground. I am family. She let out a soft little laugh, the kind women use when they know they've already won. You know what I mean. A heavy silence followed. Even the Christmas lights seemed to dim. Daniel finally stood, but not to hug me, not even close. He looked back at Clara, then at me. "Mom, maybe tonight just isn't a good time." My jaw tightened. "We planned Christmas together last week. Things changed," he muttered. "What changed?" I asked, though a cold guess was already forming. Clara answered before he could. "We want quiet. No stress. No unexpected drop-ins." My heart didn't break, it froze. Froze straight through. "I walked here in the snow," I whispered, "because I thought I was welcome." Daniel rubbed his neck. Just go home. Please. We'll talk later. Later. Always later. Later, until later never came. I placed the cookies on the counter gently, like they were something fragile. I didn't come to start trouble. Clara's eyes skimmed over me like I was a stranger wandering in off the street. "We're building our own traditions. You should respect that." Respect. Funny word for someone who wouldn't even look me in the eye. Daniel came closer, but only to guide me toward the door like I was an inconvenience. "It's snowing harder. You should go before it gets worse." I didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't beg. I just stepped outside as the door shut softly behind me, soft enough that nobody inside felt the weight of it. Snow fell on my hair. My breath fogged in the cold. Through the window, no one looked back. No one even checked if I made it down the stairs safely. I whispered to the empty night, "I guess I'm not part of this family anymore." Then I reached into my coat pocket and felt the one thing I still had, the cold edge of a silver card my husband left behind before he died. I didn't know it yet, but that card was about to flip my whole life upside down. Because sometimes the night you're pushed out is the night you discover exactly how strong you really are. The cold slapped me in the face the moment I stepped off Daniel's porch. Not the cute Christmas movie kind of cold. This was the kind that made your bones ache and your pride sting. I stood there for a second, staring at the front door he'd closed without a second thought. The voices and laughter picked right back up inside, like I'd never been there at all. I cinched my coat tighter and started walking, snow crunching under my boots. Every house on the street was glowing with warm lights, and wreaths and families gathered around dinner tables. Mine? My family had kicked me out into the snow like I was some door-to-door salesman. Halfway down the block, I stopped beneath a flickering street lamp. My fingers, stiff from cold and anger, slipped into my coat pocket. Not for my phone, not for my keys, for the silver card, the one my husband Michael had given me before he passed. I hadn't touched it in years. Honestly, I forgot it existed until that moment, until life slapped me hard enough to remind me I wasn't as alone as they made me feel. Michael's voice echoed in my memory. "If you ever lose everything, use this." lose everything. At the time, I laughed it off. I told him he was being dramatic. But now, standing there in the silent snow with no home to go to, yeah, now I understood exactly what he meant. I held the card up to the street light. It shimmered, catching a cold reflection. It wasn't a debit card, credit card, nothing I'd ever used. Just smooth silver with a small engraved emblem. Heavy, purposeful, secretive. Michael, when in the world did you leave me? I whispered. A couple across the street hurried into their house with gift bags, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. Their happiness didn't hurt me. It just reminded me mine had been chipped away long before tonight, one quiet moment at a time. I tucked the card back into my coat and kept walking. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I wasn't even crying. I was thinking. Every word from Clara, every hesitation from Daniel, every Christmas I'd spent feeling slightly in the way. It all stacked up, lining itself into a neat, ugly truth. At the end of the street, I reached a lonely bus stop and sat down. Snow collected on the bench, instantly melting through my coat. I didn't even care. I just stared at the silver card resting in my palm. The metal felt colder than the air around me. Michael hadn't been dramatic. He had been warning me. I remembered the last Christmas he was alive, the way he held my wrist gently and said, "You're tougher than you think." At the time, I thought he meant I'd handle grief well. I never imagined he meant this. A gust of wind whipped across my face, but instead of shivering, something in me settled, calmed. I stood up. Walking felt better than sitting. Sitting felt like defeat. Walking felt like movement, purpose, direction, even if I didn't know the destination yet. But then I remembered something. Michael had banked at a certain place downtown for decades. And the silver card? It felt like the kind of thing you'd slide into a machine and get answers you weren't expecting. The bank opened early on holidays. Fine, I whispered to myself. If you left me something, Michael, I'm ready to find out. I started walking again toward downtown, toward answers, toward something big enough to shake the snow off my shoulders. Because when a woman loses everything in one night, she starts discovering things she was never meant to ignore. By the time the first light of morning brushed the sky, the downtown streetlights were still glowing over fresh snow. My boots left a lonely trail behind me as I reached the big granite steps of Pacific West Bank, the same bank Michael trusted for decades. The same place he told me never to lose access to. The place that might finally answer the question burning in my chest. The doors opened at 7 a.m. sharp. I walked in with the first trickle of customers. Warm air hit my face, carrying that familiar scent of pine from the holiday decorations. A tall Christmas tree stood near the lobby window, wrapped in gold ribbon. Somehow, it almost mocked me with its cheerfulness. A young banker behind the welcome desk smiled politely. But the moment his eyes met mine, his smile faded a bit. Maybe I looked tired. Maybe he saw the kind of storm people don't ask about. "How can we help you today, ma'am?" I pulled the silver card from my coat. "I need access to this." He took one look at it, and his eyebrows shot up. Not much, but enough to know this wasn't a normal card. "One moment, let me get someone who can assist you." He motioned to a private glass window off to the side. A man in his early 50s, salt and pepper hair, glasses, and a calm professional air was waiting. His nameplate read MR. Reeves. "Good morning. Please place the card on the counter." I slid it toward him. The moment his fingers touched the metal, his expression changed. A small flicker of recognition and worry. "Where did you get this?" "My husband gave it to me before he passed away." He nodded slowly, like he'd expected that answer but didn't want to hear it. "All right, let me check something." He inserted the card into a small scanning device connected to his computer. A soft beep sounded. The screen lit up. A loading bar crawled painfully slow across the top. I watched his reflection on the monitor. His eyes narrowed, then widened more. Suddenly his chair rolled back as he stood up so fast it hit the wall. "Ma'am, you need to see this." I stepped closer. The screen showed an account balance large enough that my brain needed a second read to even accept the number. That can't be right," I whispered. Mr. Reeves swallowed hard. "It is. But my husband died 10 years ago." "Yes." And this account was frozen the day after his death. Locked by an administrator. Locked by who? He hesitated, jaw clenching, as he tapped the log file. A name popped up in the corner. I didn't breathe for a second. Daniel Hargrave. My son. A cold wave washed over me. Not shock, not heartbreak, just clarity. Sharp, cutting clarity. Mr. Reeves lowered his voice. Ma'am, there's more. He scrolled through the transaction history, page after page of transfers, withdrawals, adjustments, all routed into a corporation under my son's name. He's been draining this account for years, I whispered. Mr. Reeves nodded. He masked each transfer as a trust movement. Someone without the silver card would never see the truth. My jaw tensed. Michael had trusted Daniel, and Daniel had quietly siphoned the money behind my back while smiling at me like nothing was wrong. I steadied myself. Is there a way to recover the funds? Yes, but it triggers a federal audit. It'll expose everything. Good. He blinked, surprised by my calm. Then the lobby door opened behind us, and Mr. Reeves' expression shifted sharply. Fear. Ma'am, whatever happens next, don't let go of that card. I slipped it into my coat, heart pounding once, because deep down I knew someone else had just shown up. Because when you dig up the truth, the people who buried it always come looking. The moment Mr. Reeves' eyes darted toward the lobby doors, something cold slid down my spine. He didn't say a name, didn't make a scene. Just that small shift in his posture told me everything. Someone dangerous had walked into the bank. I tucked the silver card deeper into my coat and grabbed the folder he'd printed for me. My pulse thudded steady, not fast, not panic, just steady, like my body knew it was time to focus. Take these, he murmured, handing me the documents, and leave through the side door. Now, I didn't argue. I didn't ask who. The man looked like he'd seen this coming for years. I slipped out the side exit into the cold morning air. Snowflakes hit my cheeks, but they barely registered. My senses were too sharp, too dialed in. The folder felt warm from the printer, my hands ice cold around it. And then, from behind me, Helen? That you? I froze. The voice wasn't threatening. It was familiar, soft, a voice from a life I thought I'd left behind. I turned slowly. A dark sedan sat near the curb, engine warm, windows slightly fogged. The driver leaned out the window, gray hair tucked under a cap, eyes gentle but alert. Henry, Michael's oldest friend, the man who disappeared after my husband's death without a real explanation, a man I never stopped wondering about. He stepped out of the car, snow crunching under his boots. I've been looking for you, he said quietly. My breath hitched, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Where have you been? I asked. His expression tightened, looking for pieces of what Michael left behind. He trusted me with more than you know. I clutched the folder closer. You knew about the account. I knew its purpose, he replied, but I didn't know Daniel had access to it, or that he used it. The shame, the anger, the betrayal, all of it had been simmering inside me since last night. Now it all twisted into a single, painful truth. Daniel threw me out of the house yesterday, I said, voice low. No warning. Like I didn't matter. Henry exhaled slowly. Claire's influence. She's been steering him for a long time. I looked away, swallowing hard. She wanted me gone. No, Henry corrected gently. She wanted what you carried, Michael's inheritance. That account was never meant to fall into her hands. I shook my head. Why didn't Michael tell me the truth? Why leave all of this in secret? Henry's eyes softened. Because he knew someone was watching him. He didn't want to put you in danger. He trusted you to find the truth when the time was right. And when is that? I snapped. When I'm standing alone in the snow with no home to go to. Henry didn't flinch. No. When they underestimated you. He opened the passenger door. Get in. Michael left one more place he wanted you to see. Something he couldn't risk keeping at the house. I hesitated. Why now? Why show up today? Because, Henry said quietly, Daniel made moves behind your back this week. Someone tipped me off. I didn't know what day they'd strike, but I knew it would be soon. Snow swirled around us like the whole world was holding its breath. I climbed into the car, the door shut with a heavy, final click. "Where are we going?" I asked. "To the place Michael stored the evidence," Henry said. "Everything he didn't dare leave in the open. Because sometimes the people who disappear are the only ones who come back when the truth finally breaks loose." Henry drove us across town in silence, the kind of silence that isn't awkward. It's heavy. Heavy with truth. Heavy with things that should have been said years ago. The heater hummed in the car, warming the air, but my hands stayed cold around the folder Reeves had given me. "You okay?" Henry finally asked. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm awake." He nodded like he'd been waiting for that answer. We turned into an old industrial district, the kind of place nobody visits unless they're lost or hiding something. Smokestacks in the distance, boarded up shops, cracked pavement. It didn't match anything from my life, but it matched Michael's secrets. Henry parked behind a rusted metal gate with a half-broken sign that read, "Storage plus freight, Monroe property." My stomach dropped. "Monroe Clara's family," I muttered. Henry shot me a look. Exactly why Michael used this place. They'd never think he'd hide his evidence right under their noses. He stepped out of the car first, scanning the area like he expected trouble. I followed, crunching through the thin layer of snow coating the ground. He unlocked the side door with a small key, one I recognized immediately. "Michael's?" I asked. "Yeah," Henry said quietly. He trusted me to protect what was left. Inside, the air was cold enough to see my breath. Dust floated in soft beams of light from the tiny windows. Floor-to-ceiling shelves lined the entire warehouse. Boxes, binders, old computer towers, crates. The place looked like a museum of secrets. Henry flipped on a few dim lamps. He kept anything he didn't want Daniel or anyone else messing with. I walked slowly between the shelves, fingertips grazing old cardboard edges. Michael was organized to a fault, meticulous with every detail. It felt like he was still here, guiding us from beyond the grave. Then Henry stopped at a wooden crate in the far corner. "This one is yours." My breath caught. A thick strip of tape sealed the top. My name was written in Michael's sharp handwriting across it. "Helen, private." My knees almost buckled. This whole time, I whispered. He had a plan. "He always had a plan," Henry said. "But he didn't want you involved unless he absolutely had to." I swallowed the lump in my throat. Well, he had to. Henry opened the crate. The tape peeled away with a loud rip. Inside were stacks of folders, a thick notebook, and a small safe about the size of a shoebox. The notebook had my name on it. Just my name. I reached out and touched it. My fingers trembled. This is his handwriting. But this is different. It's rushed. Henry nodded. He wrote some of it after he got suspicious someone was watching him. The safe had a small combination lock. Henry held out a folded note. He left the code. I didn't take it. "I know the numbers," I whispered. Henry raised his brows. "How?" "It's the date he confronted Daniel. The day everything changed between them." I dialed it in. 12 to 18. The lock clicked open. Inside was a recorder wrapped in plastic, a USB drive with a red sticker, and a sealed envelope with my name on it in bold letters. I lifted the recorder with both hands. It felt heavier than it should have, like Michael had poured the last pieces of his heart into it. Henry stepped back. "Play it." My thumb hovered over the button. I pressed play. Michael's voice filled the cold room. "Helen, if you're hearing this, then the danger finally reached you. Because nothing cuts deeper than a truth recorded by the man you loved and left for the day he knew you'd be betrayed." Michael's voice came through the recorder low, tired, and painfully steady. The kind of steady that meant he'd been carrying the truth long before he could say it. "Helen, if you're hearing this, it means what I tried to prevent has finally reached you." My breath lodged in my throat. Henry looked away for a moment, giving me space. But I didn't want space. I wanted answers. I wanted every piece of the truth Michael never told me. The tape crackled softly. "You trusted the wrong people. Not because you're naive, but because you believe in loyalty more than anyone I've ever known. That loyalty made you a target." My jaw clenched. My fingers curled tight around the recorder. Michael's voice continued, more strained now. "I didn't tell you about the silver account because I knew Daniel was being influenced. He started asking questions he shouldn't. Questions someone fed him. Henry shifted his weight. He already knew where this was going. Clara's family approached me months before I died, Michael said. Her father, her uncle, they wanted access to the trust your father left. When I refused, 3 months later, my brakes failed. My hand flew to my chest. He never told me that. Henry stepped closer. He didn't want you scared. I blinked hard but didn't pause the recording. I needed the whole truth, even if it sliced me open. Michael's voice grew weaker. I knew someone was poisoning my name, maybe even my body. I didn't want to believe Daniel could be part of it, but he let Clara's family in too close. He allowed them access to information he had no right to share. My stomach twisted. Betrayal didn't even feel like the right word anymore. It felt too small. Michael went on. They used Daniel, pulled him in with business promises, money, power. And he followed, blinded. You must understand, our son is not the boy you raised anymore. My hands shook, rage, grief, all tangled together. I left the files in storage because someone in Clara's family has friends in law enforcement, banks, and real estate. I couldn't trust anyone except Henry. Henry swallowed hard, guilt flickering across his face. The tape rustled, like Michael was adjusting his position, fighting pain. Helen, Daniel may one day come after you. Not out of hate, but out of fear. He will fear losing the money he thinks he deserves. My heart thudded so loudly I could barely hear the next words. Do not destroy anything. Expose everything. A long pause. A shaky exhale. And Helen, I'm sorry. I should have trusted you sooner. You're stronger than all of them combined. Don't let them bury what's left of me. Then the tape clicked off. Silence. A heavy, suffocating silence that filled every corner of the warehouse. I lowered the recorder slowly, like I was holding the last heartbeat of the man I'd loved my whole life. Henry placed a hand on the crate. He trusted you with his final move. I nodded, but the calm inside me was different now, colder, sharper, clearer. No, I said softly. He trusted me with the truth, and now it's my turn to use it. Henry reached into the crate and pulled out the envelope. There's more. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper in Michael's quick handwriting. If they reach you first, expose everything. And if Daniel stands in your way, remember he made his choice long before you did. My chest tightened, but this time not from grief, from purpose. I placed the note inside my coat. What's next? Henry pointed to the red USB drive. That. It has the fail-safe. I pocketed it. Then we're not running, I said. We're going straight to the people who started this. Henry nodded once. Clara's family. Because after a lifetime of being quiet, there comes a day when a woman stops being scared and starts being dangerous. Henry didn't waste time. He drove us straight to Clara's family's office building, a slick, glass-sided corporate block that looked innocent from the outside, but carried the stench of greed once you knew the truth. I wasn't scared. Not anymore. Anger had turned into clarity. Clarity had turned into purpose. And purpose, well, purpose makes you brave. We're taking the evidence to someone who can't be bought, Henry said as we parked. The news station. Good, I replied. Let the world see what they tried to bury. He gave me that quick, proud look, like he finally saw the steel Michael always believed I had. By the time we reached the newsroom, the sky had darkened again, snow falling in thin, sharp lines. Inside, everything buzzed with energy, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, producers shouting instructions. The chaos of truth in motion. Rachel Burns, the lead investigative reporter, met us by the elevator. Smart eyes, sharp tone, no nonsense vibe. My kind of woman. You sure you want to go public? She asked. Once this airs, there's no going back. No hiding. No taking it down. I held up the folder, the USB drive, and the envelope with Michael's last warning. No hiding, I said. Not anymore. Rachel nodded. Let's get to work. Inside her office, she plugged in the USB. Her eyes widened immediately. Holy Helen, this isn't just tax fraud. This is a whole financial pipeline. Money laundering, false subsidiaries, offshore accounts. This is federal level crime. Michael documented everything, I said quietly, even while he was being watched. And your son, Rachel added, pointing at the screen, signed off on half of this. He made his choice, I replied. Now I'm making mine. Rachel motioned for the producer. Set up the camera. We're doing this tonight. I sat in the studio, bright lights warming my face. No makeup team. No fancy set. Just a chair, a mic, and a woman who'd run out of fear. Rachel stood behind the camera. Take your time. Speak from the heart. She counted down. 3, 2, 1. I looked straight into the lens. My name is Helen Hargrave. Tonight, I'm sharing the truth about what my husband discovered before he died and what my son helped cover. The words rolled out steady, clear, no trembling. I told the world how they drained the trust, how Clara's family manipulated Daniel, how Michael tried to warn me, how silence nearly killed us all. When the camera stopped, Rachel didn't speak for a moment. Then she gave a short nod. That was powerful. We're broadcasting it live in 30 minutes. Henry placed a hand on my shoulder. You did it. No, I said softly. We did it. We walked into the newsroom where screens flashed breaking news graphics. The countdown for the live segment hit 0. Rachel delivered the story with the fire of someone who'd been waiting to expose corruption for years. Then they aired the evidence, pages of transfers, signatures, timestamps, the pipeline of stolen money. Seconds later, a live feed popped onto the screen. Daniel, handcuffed, escorted by federal agents outside his office. He looked lost, broken, like he finally understood the cost of choosing the wrong people. Henry whispered, Justice. I didn't smile, didn't flinch, didn't soften. He made his bed, I said. Now he gets to lie in it. After the segment, Henry drove me home. Snow had stopped falling. The world looked washed clean. Inside my apartment, I finally opened Michael's last red envelope. His handwriting filled the page. Helen, don't hate Daniel. Hate the greed that stole him. Now live, not for revenge. Live for the peace you deserve. My chest tightened, but instead of breaking, it settled, calmed. Next morning, Henry drove me to Michael's grave. I placed a single white rose on the snow. It's done, I whispered. Your truth is out. My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Mom, please. I don't know what to do. I powered the phone off. I finished Michael's part, I said to the quiet air. Now I get to start mine. I walked back to the truck with steady steps. For the first time in years, the silence didn't scare me. It set me free. Because when the world tries to dim a woman's light, she doesn't fade. She learns how to burn brighter than ever.